Our space and our surroundings play a big impact on just our emotional well being and how we feel. So we're all looking for a little mood boost or a little serotonin boost here and there. And especially if you're someone that likes decor or design like I do, just looking at how we can implement some of these just different decor or maybe rearranging things. We'll get into those here in a moment, but really can make a conscious shift in your perspective and just give you an overall better feeling in your environment. And we all want that. Use the things that you love. So, how often do you have things that are special, or maybe something that you've been gifted, or maybe something you've been given by a grandparent, or something that's just been passed down in your family, and you feel like it's too precious to use? I would say, and one of my suggestions is start using those things. Start pulling those things out of the cabinets or out of a closet that you keep them in. I think by using our special things, this is something that really can just elevate and boost your mood and brings back memories of whether that's sentiment or just fulfilling happy memories of maybe people that are no longer with us. Using these things on a regular basis, not being scared to use these types of things can really just make our overall well being and just feel really good in our space. So try using those special things. One of the Architectural Digest home tours that sticks out to me was Dakota Johnson, where she talked about that china she has in her green kitchen that never gets used. And I think this is really unfortunate. I personally want to use some of the dishware that I've been given or gifted and times, or things that I feel like maybe are too precious that I collect. I really try to implement this and start using these things more regularly. We have these little gold forks that are, I believe, maybe 18 karat or 24 karat plated, but they're these little miniature, small, weird gold forks that my mother in law gave us quite a few years ago. And they stay in this cabinet that I have with some other dinnerware, but we use them all the time. And we've didn't used to, but we've started bringing them out when we have like a charcuterie board or just cheese and crackers or have people over. And you wouldn't believe the amount of just funny conversations and the funny looks from kids when you hand them this little tiny miniature gold fork to use. It just has brought us so much laughter and so much joy just from something so simple. I remember when she gave us these, I didn't ever think they would be practical or that we would actually use them. But funny enough, we use these little weird forks all the time. Use your weird things. Use the things that you wouldn't think you normally use. If you have stuff stored away, start pulling those things out and implementing those into your daily life. And I promise those are little things that will really make you feel good. Another thing you can do is moving furniture around. A lot of times I think we feel like this is something that has to be monumental or like a big shift in our area or environment, but it's really not. It can be something as simple as just moving the orientation of your chairs or moving the orientation of your living room and shifting things around a little bit. Um, this plays a really big impact and just gives us a different shift perspective and a kind of a change in consciousness, if you will, by changing the things in our surroundings that we see every day that were in our habitual kind of environment. And when you make this shift, even though it could be something just as small as shifting the orientation of a room, it can really change just the overall mental perspective and kind of give you a refreshed feeling for no cost and something very simple. Moving art around. And so you don't have to go out and buy new art, but just go around your house, look at where you have certain art pieces and move those around. Change where they are. I think a lot of times I feel like if you rent somewhere or you maybe don't own a property, you don't want to put a lot of nails on the wall, so you might be hesitant to do this. But if you haven't heard of these command strips that are Velcro, these are pretty amazing little things. You can use them to just change all types of different art. They hold pretty heavy weight, but use these, shift the art around, add more art, just do whatever you can to kind of get a different paradigm shift in your environment perspective. And just by moving the things that you currently have and doing a little swap of art in your space, you'll be amazed at how you just feel this sense of refreshment. And I think it can give you just a different perspective and feel really good. We actually spend 1/3 of our lives in our bedroom. And I think it's fascinating how we neglect this space in our house, especially as parents. I feel like this is always the space that we kind of decorate last and don't put a lot of intention and a lot of just thought in terms of our own necessity in this area. And really, this is a sanctuary space. Like I said, we spend 1/3 of our lives here. So why do we look at this space last? This should really be, in my opinion, the first space that we look at, and really making this space feel really good and intentional. And so maybe let's take a shift in how we think of our bedrooms and start looking at little things like what you can add, whether that's just a really nice light or a little side table, even just fresh bedding. It can be something simple like a new set of sheets. Those little tiny things go a very long ways in just the overall feeling of your space and how your bedroom can really make you feel enveloped and really happy. Adding plants or flower arrangements in your space is a really big mood boost. And so if you don't want to go down the avenue of an actual flower arrangement, which I love really quirky flower arrangements. That's something on Pinterest I like to look at a lot, but I'll put some just funny little quirky flower arrangements here that you can look at that I regularly like to see. And I would love to create some of these as well. But you can get, and the way they really do these, if you're not familiar with those flower arrangements that have maybe like that little shallow type of vase, and you're like, how are they getting flowers to stand in that type of vase? It's those little flower frogs. And so I'll put a picture of a flower frog here too, but those are what you stick the stems in. So you put that little flower frog, and there's a lot of different sizes, and you can put that down in the vessel or vase, and then you poke the flower stems down into that flower frog, which has these almost like little needles that stick up, and that's how they're getting those really interesting quirky flower arrangements. Needless to say, doesn't have to be a flower arrangement, can also be a plant. And so plants are a very beneficial thing to add to your space. And no doubt there's tons of research that goes into how beneficial plants are for moods. Plants are proven to boost mood. They add a lot of greenery, which green is my favorite color. And there's a saying, I think sometimes people wonder about what types of shades of greens go together. And I was reading this book one time, and it was talking about how if you look at a tree or look in nature, is nature concerned about the shade of green? All shades of green are within a tree or within nature. And so, really, greens go very well together. It's just, to me, it's a neutral. I absolutely love the color green and really all shades of green. But adding plants really adds that element of just liveliness. And it's something to take care of and care after. And something to talk to. If you want a little friend, you can talk to your plants. Something else to consider when getting plants, and I think sometimes this is where a mistake comes in. So it's getting plants that are not adapted to your environment. So if you live somewhere in a dry climate, like Arizona, for instance, it's very beneficial and really would behoove you in terms of the just prosperity of your plant to find something that's maybe more aligned with a euphorbia that's similar look to a cactus but does very well inside. But euphorbias do very well, and they have the look and the appearance of a cactus, and so they do really well inside. They get really long and big, and there's lots of different shapes and sizes of them, but definitely check out a euphorbia if you're wanting more of that cactus type look. But trying to find plants that are just more well adapted to your ecosystem and your environment, you'll just have more success with the plants. And I think it won't have that frustration and that opposite effect of what we're trying to get, which is creating happiness. It'll be something that you love and that you can care for, that's just easy to care for. It's not like a burden of, oh my gosh, I have these plants, they're dying and all of that. You'll have a lot of success when you really research your environment and where you are, what does well in your area. A lot of times just talking to like a local plant nursery, they can give you some suggestions. I also have a monstera, and these are really great plants. I highly suggest a monstera if you're trying to figure out what type of plant you might want to incorporate in your space. So monsteras, they go back a long ways. You see them a lot of times in different magazines or different home styling books back from like the 70s or 60s, 80s. But monsteras do really well in many different climates and many different environments. They also are known as a Swiss cheese plant, and they have a couple different types of monsteras as well, but they get these massive big leaves. They are actually climbers, but don't have to be. I actually have one in my living room. They take kind of moderate level light, and they're just easy to take care of, and I think really aesthetically pleasing. So definitely check out a monstera if you haven't ever really heard of a monstera, but it's a really good plant that I think is a kind of easy intermediate style level plant that will bring a lot of joy and a lot of liveliness. Check out a monstera. Really great plant to incorporate. Another thing that's really vital to just the overall, I think, mood and happiness of a space is light and natural light. So it's very, very important to be opening up windows, letting that natural light come through every single day. And so I think we don't want to be these little dark bats in a cave. You want to be able to have that natural light. It boosts serotonin, it makes us feel good, just as simple as that. And so I think sometimes I've seen where if you have something like a window that maybe has an unsightly view, let's say, for example, a fire escape or something like that, or maybe, my Arizona house has like a block cinder wall in the backyard that overlooks another house. And so sometimes just looking at that obviously is not ideal. But one idea and something I want to incorporate as well is finding an architectural salvage or Facebook Marketplace. You can have them custom made. There's a lot of different avenues for acquiring these, but a stained glass window. And so I love the look of a stained glass window just leaned on a existing window if you can, if it's the right kind of adaptability of where you can lean it. If not, you can get these little circle hooks that can hook from the ceiling or the kind of the windowsill up top and hang down. It still allows that natural light to come in and also adds that little bit of color as well. And so there's a lot of different styles of stained glass windows, but I think this is a really good little tip and trick that you can implement if you're trying to somewhat cover a window, but you still want that beautiful light coming through. Definitely try a stained glass window. Another tip I want to mention that I think is vital is having sentimental items in your home. So things that maybe you've traveled and you've acquired over the years, or maybe it's things that you've been given or you've been handed down from a grandparent or someone like that, or maybe it's art that your kids have made and you don't really know what to do with the art and it just sits back in a tub in a garage. Take those types of items and display them. So I actually have this cabinet. It's kind of a corner cabinet in the upstairs loft area of my house. And so this is kind of our little family nook, we call it, but it has a lot of different photos. It has watches of my husband's grandparent. It has, a pair of binoculars from my grandfather. There's just important special items here that really when you walk by, it makes you feel good. And it's a way to kind of curate all of these things into one space. I personally just like that. I like more to have a collection rather than things just being scattered all over. And so by having this little family area, you can walk by or you can stop and kind of look and reminisce. And I think by having little pieces of memories in a space, it just makes you feel really good and it can definitely boost a mood. Also, having things in your space that you just really love, and it doesn't have to be aesthetic. I think sometimes it's easy to kind of feel like everything has to look good or everything has to be, something that is stylish or in trend with decor. It really doesn't. So, if it makes you feel good and if it's something special that you've been given, then none of that really matters, in my opinion. So, I think by having things like this is small. It doesn't have to be a large form piece of art, but this is just a little picture that I framed of him and I in our Northern California property. And it's just something really special to us. It actually hangs just right next to his bed. And I know every time you walk by it, I know he feels good. He likes to see it. And it's a special little piece that has a lot of meaning to us. Is this the most aesthetic art in the world? No, it's not. But it has a lot of meaning. This frame was inexpensive and it's just something that has a lot of high value to us and makes us feel really good in our space. This is another item that I personally love. This. Is it the most, maybe aesthetic item in the world? No, but it's this wicker frog that I love. I use it. It's actually a trash can, I believe. I got this quite a while back on a estate auction, and I just absolutely love this thing. It's a weird little quirky item to have in your house, but to me this makes me happy when I'm sitting at my desk. And back when I used to work in my tech job, something like this, just looking down, would really boost my mood and make me feel good when I was feeling stressed or just not doing like very well in terms of a mental health state. Having things like this that make you feel good, that you personally love and like, that make you laugh or make you smile, have those things in your home. Even if they're not aesthetically pleasing, there's value to that. And it's about what you love and the things that surround you in your space. That's what truly matters. And that's the true value. If you have a part of your home or a view that you maybe don't want to see, or you're looking for a little bit of privacy, One of the really good things that you can do, I love these little cafe style curtains, and they come in a lot of different just designs. They can be more traditional, like these ones here, but you can find very inexpensive, thin little curtain rods that run across a window, and they're little tension rods, so you don't even have to screw anything in. You know those tension rods I'm sure you've all used or have seen before that are in showers, and it's kind of how the shower rod where you twist it and it gets tighter, and creates that tension, therefore holding up the curtain or curtain rod, shower curtain. So get one of those on Amazon. You don't have to have any hardware, so you're not having to nail those in, or put any type of screws in the wall. It's very renter friendly as well. So you can get one of these little tension rods. They come in different sizes and widths, just the diameter of the bar itself, and you can add a little cafe curtain. And so I love the look of this because you're still allowing that sun to shine in, and you're still able to see the sunlight, and you can see the birds, you can see the trees, but you're still creating that layer of privacy. And maybe it's just a view that you're not wanting to look at across the way. I absolutely love these patchwork, I believe they're called pojagi curtains, and there are these curtain panels that have these different colored squares, and so they've been sewn together, and I just absolutely love the light that this allows in. And I know I've seen these on Etsy. I've seen these on Freya Lowe, I believe is the name of the maker, and she custom makes these types of curtains. They can be a bit on the spendy side. I think this would actually, if you're someone that's some crafty or you know how to use a basic sewing machine, I think you could probably make these relatively easily by just sourcing different colors of a sheer fabric and then piecing these together. I just think this adds such a nice little colorway into your home, and it still allows the light to come in. So you're not blocking all of that and kind of creating that darkness, which can kind of create more of a somber mood. It's just so important, like I said, to have that light coming through. These pagoji curtains are really special, and I think something that you could have for a very long time as well, and put in many different places and move around your home as the years go on. So definitely worth the investment, and I think worth even looking into how to actually make these yourself. If you've liked this video and stayed along, please like and subscribe. It's a free way that you can support my channel. And I did link my Etsy shop below. I'm an vintage and art curator, so I have an Etsy store. I sell pretty much everything on Etsy, so definitely check that out. I have it linked below. I'll talk more about that in the future. I will see all of you next week for another video. Bye.